Test one, two, test. See if I can get if the audio is working. There's ads on this. Jesus. Skip that. Well, it looks like the audio is working. But anyways, welcome back to the Nash Theo show. A little late today, but we're back. It's been a long day today actually, so let me see, my eyes are like super tired. All right, so today we are going to be answering more comments that were in past videos and maybe like most recent videos, as well as some live comments. If you have any questions, any comments, any just anything, any suggestions, just put it in the chat and we can talk about that. All right, so let's see here. We had some recent ones on the last, let's see here. Trying to find a really good one that I can address. Okay, so someone asked one of my old videos, what is QuickBooks? Because most of the time when I make videos on some of the software that you might need to know if you're gonna go into maybe finance and accounting, because I've worked in accounting as well as finance. So if you're gonna go into accounting and finance, QuickBooks is one of those softwares if you work for a startup company that they actually use because it's a lot cheaper and it's also like a lot easier to use for maybe some accountants that might not be CPAs and maybe for companies that don't have those staff accountants that actually do the, that do the journal entries for the transactions and things like that. So QuickBooks is a software that a lot of businesses use, usually startup businesses that don't have CPAs on their payroll. So that's what QuickBooks is. It's super easy to use. You can literally create all the financial statements. If you want to create a balance sheet, if you want to create a profit and loss statement, you can do that based on the transactions that you enter into QuickBooks. So it's more for like data entry people, people that specialize in data entry. They'll be they would be better off doing QuickBooks. A lot of startup businesses want to know how to use QuickBooks. So let's see here. Another one is what else do we have here? We have so thanks for the video. What are challenges that a financial analyst might face during their first year? So your first year as a financial analyst is more about learning, right? So I feel like a lot of people that graduate with maybe like a bachelor's in finance, right? They want to work as a financial analyst. They go into the job thinking that they know everything. You don't know anything. You do not. So you don't even have to pretend that you know anything. So the biggest mistake I would say it is thinking that you know everything and you need to prove that you know everything. Your job is to learn. Just absorb what processes they use to create certain things or to solve certain problems. You have to like really you it's like if you went to college, your freshman year in college, you were trying to figure out what organizations to join, where your classes are, so you just lost. It should be the same thing as going to your first job as a financial analyst. You have to have like an open mindset of trying to learn how things actually work in the real world compared to college. So the biggest mistakes that new financial analysts face is thinking that you know everything or what you learned in college is actually going to help you at the job, on the job. For the most part, what you learned in college, like 90% of all the stuff that you learned, it doesn't matter when it comes to the actual job because you get to learn a different way of doing everything. So it goes back to being able to like learn the big concepts, like the overall idea of let's say you're learning like the financial statements, like I covered in the video yesterday or the live stream yesterday. If you learn the financial statements, you are going to be able to understand the idea, the entire the things that build those up. So when you go into the job, you're going to be able to apply that. So it doesn't matter how much you know. It's going to be if you understand the full idea, which is like the overall theme of like the job. But you don't have to know everything. You don't pretend like you're an expert. Don't try to know everything. That's the best advice I give you as a new financial analyst. Don't pretend like you know everything that you're gonna be doing, because that's not gonna help you at all. Let's see here. Another one is uh, someone say they are literally in their dorm in college doing orientation. They're about to be in college in a week, and this was a while ago actually. And they got their associate's degree when they're in high school. That's actually a big plus if you're able to do that. And they hate math and what else? They're thinking of majoring in finance and yeah, so in finance, it's never really about the actual math itself because there's gonna be formulas for you that you can use, right? Like super valid formulas, right? If you wanna calculate how much a business makes, the net revenue, you just take the profit minus the expenses, right? Or like operating expenses and things like that. That's the basic formula, and you get the actual net profit, right? It's like simple formulas like that when it comes to finance. So it's never gonna be that hard math that you can do. And even if it's hard, really, when you get to the real world, you get to use Excel, you get to use a calculator, you get to use the internet, you get to use Google. So it's never that hard of like math when it comes to finance. So don't really care about how much math is gonna be when it comes to finance, simply because it's like there's formulas that are easy to remember. That's one thing, and two, that you never get to use again after you leave college, right? When you get to the real world, you don't have to use the formulas. There's Excel, there's tools that you can use to help you figure those formulas out or to do that for you. Let's see, what else do we have here? We also have so these are comments from previous videos that I was not able to answer before. Um, all right, so this one is from someone called CJ Smith. So they say that they have 2 degrees, which is insane. Um, in a psychology and accounting, which is a rare combination of degrees, having psychology and accounting. They had a couple of accounting internships, but I don't feel like I'm happy enough doing tax accounting. Do you know any CPAs who have become financial analysts? So that's I was gonna make a video probably like next week or 2 weeks from now, or maybe in the future, because I used to be an accounting major, right? I was an accounting major for the longest because my family is a bunch of accountants in my family, so I wanted to do that. But I did an internship as an accountant. I was interning at under a bunch of accountants for the city of San Antonio, and I saw how boring the work was, the work that I was doing. Maybe on their behalf, it was boring work, super boring, as well as even what they were doing. They were bored. Half the time, they were so bored, and unless it was like busy season, if you ever work for the big four consulting firms, you know that they are also accounting firms, so they have busy seasons where like accountants they have so much to do. But after the business season, which is about a couple months, they have nothing to do after that. So it is like so boring. That's why I left accounting. That's why I switched over to finance after my first year in accounting. I had my first internship. I switched over to accounting. So your question is, you found yourself unhappy doing tax accounting. Honestly, I think accounting is boring. That's like my personal approach to accounting. It is boring to me, so I can understand why you'd say that. And I've met some accountants. I haven't my accountant. He's happy doing what he does simply because of the people that he does accounting for. Right? Imagine if you are an accountant for, let's say you appreciate or you enjoy like entertainers, right? Like maybe it's music artists, and you're an accountant for them. So that might make it a little more exciting for you than being an accountant for part of being part of a business, right? Maybe it's a big four accounting firm. right? And you're part of that. That might be more boring simply because it's like, you're not really attached to the client. You're just doing it for like, for the goal of an organization. But yeah, personally, I think accounting is really boring. That's why I didn't get into it, even though you have the ability to make a lot of money depending on who you're doing accounting for, especially tax accounting, right? So yeah, I've met some CPAs that really enjoy what they do simply because they're super knowledgeable. They work for people that they like. They have their own practices. They have, my CPA, he has his own little office, right? And he can take any client that he wants. He can decline any clients that he does not like. So that's exciting for him. But if you go work for, like a big corporation or big four accounting firm, then that might be a different story for you. I went to work for the city or intern for the city as an accountant, right? As an accounting intern, excuse me. And I didn't like it. So I just with accounting, especially tax accounting, it depends on who you work for or who your clients are or what sector you're in or environment or industry, right? You might be in the music industry as an accountant, so you have to really educate yourself on that. Or you might be in uh non-profit. What is it? What do they call it? Um, I forget when you work for the government and stuff, or public accounting. That's for the government. Or if you go to private companies like the big four accounting firms, that's private sector, right? So it just depends on who you work for, really. So if you have something that you really, if you like accounting and you have uh like an industry that you really enjoy, you like watching, you like entertainment, so go to the entertainment industry and do taxes for them, right? That'll probably make it more exciting for you. But that's one thing that I don't really like about accounting, simply because it's just like, it's like you have to be in an industry that you enjoy in order to do your job. That's why I didn't do that after that first internship that I had. All right, so I made a video called it was a short video. It was called college finance classes only teach you the basics. And someone asked, what concepts don't they cover, and where can we learn them? So this is a valid question because um if you go to a public, so this is assuming that you go to a public university, right? If you go to a public university, you have to take those. The first 2 years of college is just bullshit. If you watch, I have a video that's my most watched video on this channel where I went over my college degree, my entire college degree, right? And you can see that the first 2 years is classes like history, English 1, English 2, writing 1, writing 2, history. It's like Texas history, American history. You have I know geography, things like that. Classes that are like high school classes, but they teach them in college. You do those for the first 2 years of college, public college, and your junior year and senior year, the next 2 years, that's when you really start to focus on the finance classes. So your junior year, you're gonna focus on your prerequisites to take the actual finance classes, right? So once you do those, you actually go into the finance classes. Junior year, start going to like corporate finance 1, corporate finance 2. You go into accounting 1. Things like that that are an introduction to finance. And then you go into your senior year, then you take those advanced finance and account. You might really specialize in something. So that's why I say that they only teach you the basics, because you don't have enough time to learn everything about finance, because the first 2 years are going to be based on these history classes, English classes, science classes, arts, classes that you have to take as prerequisites, and you only have about a year or two to actually learn about finance. So that is not enough. That's why I only say that they only teach you the basics that you need to know. But when you actually go into the workforce, that's when you actually learn those little details that make up finance, whatever role you're gonna chief work in insurance, corporate finance, investment banking, things like that, private equity. You get to learn those details when you're on the job, but college is not gonna teach you those specific details. So that's why I say that college only teaches you the basics, of finance. It's just the basics. They might introduce you to different topics, but they're never gonna go deep enough for you to fully understand that. And that, as a if you're one of those people that really want to learn things as they go, you can substitute that with like learning on Udemy, or maybe doing courses online, watching YouTube videos on that same topic that they're teaching in class in order to like reinforce what you're learning. Let's see here. We could look at some comments here. So with the first one is how can I be competitive for a job in finance if I go to a non-target school? So you don't have to go to a target school, really. You don't have to do that. Uh, Target schools are only beneficial to things like investment banking. Like, so if you're trying to go into that, then yes, go to that's definitely going to help you. But that's not the only thing that counts when it comes to target. It comes to like getting into that job. So you can only be competitive if you have experience, right? If you have the first thing before you even get to experience is gonna be the GPA, right? Because that's what they use to usually like gauge, be like, okay, we're gonna take everyone with a 3.5. Anyone under that, we're not gonna look at their application at all. So having a GPA, I always say like having a 3.5 to a 3.7, that's gonna help you, right? 3.5 to 3.7, anything above 3.5, that's going to be beneficial to you. And then if you have that already, then look at your work experience. What have you done, right? So sometimes you might have had, part-time jobs in finance, which is what I talk about on this channel. I talk about, having what is it? Working part-time jobs in finance. If you can't get really good internships, get a part-time job in finance as an assistant or something like that. If you can't do that, then join organizations where you can actually be a leader, right? Be a president. I was VP of finance for my fraternity in college. It was a business fraternity, and then I ended up being the president, right? Those were things that I could add to my resume coming out of college. That I was in a business fraternity, and I was the VP of finance. I managed these funds. We allocated them this way, and then ended up becoming a president where I was responsible for these people, and this is what I had to do. So, if you want to be really competitive with people from target schools, if you go to a non-target school, is you have to do the most that you can do, right? It's gonna be based on your work experience that you can get. Get as many internships as you can get. They could be part-time jobs, but they have to be in finance or finance related, right? Don't work at fast food place, right? And put that on your resume. Don't do that. Try to aim for something that is finance related, right? Do join organizations, right, where you can be in a leadership role, because that always helps you regardless of what job you're going into. Also, another thing you do is get certifications that are related to what you want to get into. What I always recommend is Microsoft Excel. Get a certification in Excel. That's the thing in finance right now. Get a certification in Microsoft Excel. Know how to use it, right? Do that. Aside from that, those are like mainly the three things you have to do if you want to compete with someone from a target school. GPA, work experience, uh, experience like during college, be in a leadership role, be involved in college, apply yourself, show that you're not just your GPA, you can be more than that. You're capable of working in a team, you're capable of being a leader, capable of doing things like that. Just got to be able to show that. Um, okay, next one is hey Nash, I just want to let you know I've been a long time subscriber and really appreciate your content. Put you on keeping. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I've had this channel for the longest, really, and I don't always post on time. What are some part-time jobs in finance that I can try out? Maybe some internships. What projects I can do to improve my resume? So when it comes to like, because I feel like a lot of people that work in finance, they feel like they have to apply to, the JP Morgan internship program, or the EY Big Four, any of the Big Four internship programs. Those you can definitely apply to, but those are going to be super competitive because that is what the target school students are applying to, and they're the priority, right? When they apply to those positions, but anyone can apply to those. But what I did in college was apply to um, data entry jobs, right? My first year, I applied to like an accounting internship with the city of San Antonio, which is where I stay, and I got the internship. I was an accountant, right? Even though I wanted to be in finance later on, I ended up being in finance. And then after that, I applied to be, I was like a data entry analyst, something like that, where I was getting financial documents. Maybe it could have been like a income statement that was done on paper, and I put that in the system, right, in the SAP system and things like that. So that was a data entry job. That job teaches you how to type, how to use different softwares, and then when it comes to like some of the skills that you can learn on your own is Excel. The biggest skill that you can learn in finance is Microsoft Excel. You have to be really, the more good you are at Microsoft Excel, the better off you're gonna be, right? Because I've had a lot of interviews where on your resume you can obviously put like you know how to use Microsoft Excel, but when it comes to the interview, they're gonna ask, so are you familiar with pivot tables? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. It's like, oh great, great, great. So if I had this data set, I wanted to fix it this way. Do you know how you do that? There's some interviews that do that, but some will definitely ask you specific things like pivot tables. Do you know how to do VLOOKUPs? Do you know how to, they always ask those things because not a lot of people know how to do that. So if you are gonna work in finance or accounting, please, 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 Excel is gonna be the biggest thing that you learn because people will tell you need to learn Salesforce. You need to learn how to use all of these different softwares. But the thing that they don't realize is most of the time, if you're using, let's say, for example, you're using Salesforce, there's data in there, right? There's customer data. You're working for a company that gathers customer data. Your job as a financial analyst is to analyze how much money came in, how much money came out, and how much, money wasn't paid, how much was paid, and do that analysis, right? What you have to do is take the data from Salesforce itself and download it to Excel. That's where you're gonna be able to format the data, right? So you have the data in Excel because you always download the data to Excel, and you reformat the data, and then with the data, you can create a pivot table that might be able to realign it in a certain way. You know that's more visually appealing, or it makes it a lot easier. So Excel is gonna be it's like the backbone of finance, like Excel. Like it's really important to understand how to use Microsoft Excel because all the data you can be on Yahoo Finance. You can download the data in Excel format in order to manipulate the data, right? Because not a lot of people are gonna be able to understand the data in its raw form. They have to be able to like translate it into something they understand. That's when you download it into Excel, you transform it using pivot tables, you do VLOOKUPs to get the necessary things that you need to get. Um, so I would say that for jobs, you can look up for any data entry jobs, entry level finance jobs. Those are super easy to find. I can show you how to find them. Actually, I'll probably do that towards the end of this video. I'll show you where I used to look for jobs. Uh, Next one is best resources to learn pivot tables or Excel in general. I would say YouTube. I want to say YouTube because it is free. I guess you don't have to pay for that. But if you want to pay for a course, I would say Udemy, right? Udemy is like a really good platform to learn because they always have like discounts on their courses, and they review every course that goes on Udemy. It's reviewed and you get a certification at the end of the course, and a lot of businesses actually take into account your Udemy certification if you have a certification from them. So I would say they're like the best platform in terms of like the price, right? They always have discounts. That's one thing, and then second thing is a lot of businesses take that into account. It's a reputable source, Udemy, if you want to pay for it. But I would say that go to learn on YouTube before you even go on Udemy. YouTube is free. Look up, Excel course. There's some really good content creators that teach you how to use Microsoft Excel on YouTube, and I think they do a really good job. Um, But if you want to do like kind of like a step by step with maybe exercises and quizzes, go to Udemy. That's the platform that I would definitely recommend simply because it's cheaper. There's always discounts, and most companies recognize it. It's like a no brainer. You know, you're gonna be able to your certification is gonna be able to be recognized. Let me see here if I can find an how to use keyboard. All right, see if I can so you guys can see my screen. All right, put it over here. This is how you'd look for entry level finance jobs. Okay, so I googled entry level finance jobs. I like using you can use like this little Google search engine because it has everything like LinkedIn, Monster. That's what I usually use because if you try to use those specific like Indeed, you're only gonna have jobs that are posted on Indeed. You try to use LinkedIn, it's only jobs that are posted on LinkedIn. You try to use what's the other one? Glassdoor. That's another big one. You're only gonna have jobs that are posted on Glassdoor. But I so always Google it, and you can use the Google Jobs. I guess that's what they call it. Click on that because it gives you all the little it gives you all the applications from different places. So here, one of the things I look for is when was the job posted, right? You always want to go with the earliest posted, right? For this, I made a video on how to look for jobs on LinkedIn where, it's the same tips really. You want to go for the most recently posted job. And that's because you want your application to be the first one in the system, right? The first one to be vetted before there's like 90 applications on the wait list and you add yours in. So you always want to try to be the first one. LinkedIn makes it super easy to do that. So for this one here, so this one says 11 hours ago. That's when it was posted. 40 to 80K a year. That's a big little gap or distance between full time. So usually this one was posted on LinkedIn. It says via LinkedIn. That's why I like using Google because it tells you where the job is from. So via LinkedIn, entry level financial advisor. So there was someone asking about financial advisors earlier. I guess it was one of the comments on the old video. So this is it right here. You have the qualifications here. Google does a good job of summarizing this thing. Responsibilities, benefits, you have your I think I did a video on like health benefits, I think, when it comes to entry level positions, full description, things like that. I actually like Fidelity Investments. I have all my investment accounts with them, as you can see up here. But here you have another one here. So for this is what I would do. So I'll go through the Google version of this. You can even change the location here. So I have 200 miles from where I'm at. I can even pick a city. I can pick the date posted. This is what I'm saying. You want to start with the past day, with the past 3 days. If you go to past day, it might be a lot less positions, right? 23 hours ago, 23 hours ago. It's a lot. Like a lot of people are hiring in finance. And you can even go to past 3 days if you don't have enough options at past day, past week, past month. What you don't want to do is start with past month because what's going to happen is there's already applications lined up, and a lot of businesses forget to take down the application, right? So they're going to have you applying for a position that's filled, and they're never going to look at your application. And you're waiting for a response, and they're never going to respond to you. So that's what you want to try. That's why it's always important to start from past day, 3 days. You start from the lowest, right? The most recent. It's gonna help you. Then requirements. You can do this year. You can do no. If you're one of those people that are trying to get into finance without a college degree, you can do no degree. You can see there's not a lot of positions with no degree. Why? Because I put other stuff on here. So requirements, no degree. There you go. Okay, great. So you have all these positions here with that don't require a degree, but they're in finance, but they could be a stepping stone into um, another finance position. You have the type of job. So I love using Google here. It gives you a good, it gives you like a taste of everything. You're not just on Glassdoor. Even though I prefer LinkedIn and Glassdoor, But Google gives you a taste of everything. You're on Monster, you're on Aston Aston Carter, you are on Charter.ai, you get jobs from everywhere. That's what I like about it. But my favorite one is Glassdoor because it shows you how much money to expect, and LinkedIn is my other favorite. All right, so what else do we have here? Let's see if I can bring this back. There you go. Okay. All right. Hey, I'm from Guyana, South America. About to start a degree in finance. What should I double major or minor in? So double major is a no-no. Don't ever double major. I just made a video. Go watch that video. Don't double major in college simply because we live in an age where your degree does not matter, right? It's a video I'm gonna make in the future. Your college degree does not matter in terms of like the knowledge that you know. It's only used to say that you have a college degree, you have higher education. That's what it's used for. The knowledge that you learn in college is not the knowledge that you have to use on the job, right? That's why you see a lot of people that might have a degree in art or a degree in psychology that go work in finance, work in accounting, work in operations, because your degree does not matter. It's what you learn on the job. So the degree is used to say that you have in a secondary education, like an upper level education. You have a bachelor's degree. It's for status, if you want to say it that way. It's for status, right? So it's not about how much you know, it's about you have it. It's like a status symbol, right? So doing a double major is almost pointless simply because the person that has one major can get the same job that she can get with a double major. So why do twice the work? And even if you have to pay for the degree for those two degrees too, right? Why pay double for something that someone is gonna get for paying for, one time? Why do that? So I'm always against like double majors. I think those are useless. Those are they take a lot of your time, and for the most part, I think I covered this in the video that I just posted. Go to my most recent video. I talked about how you don't have enough time to participate in organizations and maybe join a fraternity that's going to help you network with your peers and maybe go to networking events because you're taking a lot of classes. If you have two degrees and you're trying to finish them at a reasonable amount of time, you're going to be taking more than average classes, right? I think a lot of public universities say you take 15 hours, which is five classes because each class is 3 hours. Um, so you might be taking like eight, and they also have the maximum of classes you can take, right? Because no university is gonna say you can take as many classes as you want. But you can say I want to take 20 classes, and you're gonna fail those classes, and they have to expel you because you're failing, right? So there's always limitations. Some schools say 18 hours is the maximum that they let you take within a semester. So double major is a no-no for me personally, so I would not recommend any double major for you. But when it comes to a minor, this is when you can be a little lenient because sometimes you might take, especially if you're a finance major, right? It's super easy to be a finance major, take all the finance classes, right? And if you go to a public university, you have these classes called they call them uh what they call them your electives, right? It's like maybe five classes where you can pick what classes you want to take. They don't have to be in finance. They could be art, they could be music, they could be anything. You have five classes that you can pick as electives. So what I would do with those is I would pick, let's say I wanted a minor in business analytics on top of my finance degree. For those electives, I could take all the business analytics classes or the five, whatever, how many classes you have as electives, fill them with like the minor that you want to get into, right? Because once you do that, you can say now I want a minor. You don't have to take as many classes because you fit maybe half of those classes within your degree, right? Within those electives. So I would say a minor. If you have to do that, take a minor. And even sometimes, if you want to learn about, I go back to the example of being a finance major that wants to minor in business analytics. You might take all it takes for you to understand business analytics might be like five classes, those five classes, right? Or two classes or three classes. fit those in your electives so you don't have to do a minor or additional classes that are gonna cost you more money. So I would say I'll recommend a minor before a double major because double majors it is a I'm gonna tell you for the lack of a better phrase term, it's a waste of time. It's gonna cost you unless you have if you have a scholarship that pays for everything, then great. That's great. You can, yeah, use your money. Get get another major. Do triple major if they're paying for it. But if you're paying out of pocket, a double major is not gonna benefit you more than a single major. It's never gonna do that. It is not. So I would never, 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 ever recommend that. A minor, yes, you can do that, but that's only if it complements your degree. So don't do a major in finance and then minor in art, because those are two separate things. If you have to pay for the minor out of that, then that's just extra money you're paying for. But if you're willing to do that, then yes. But if you're looking for to optimize your time in college and your money that you spend in college, I would get a minor that supports your finance degree. Let's say you're in finance and you're specializing in fintech, right? Finance technology, fintech, right, which is the hot thing right now, measuring in that, and then you realize right now blockchain technology is the hottest thing. Your college has some classes or minor in blockchain technology. It's not a degree, but it's a minor. Then yes, you can take that because that's what you want to get into eventually. So you can get your finance degree, your fintech finance, focusing on fintech, and get a minor in blockchain technology. Those are two things that complement and they're gonna help you. By getting a minor in art or psychology, that's not gonna compliment you. Yes, it might be fun, it might be doing it, it might make you happy, but when it comes to optimization of your time in college and getting your money's worth, I would say get something that pairs with your degree really well, really well. All right, next one is there any Excel classes that you would recommend? What would you say is the most important thing to learn in Excel, intro financial analyst? So I don't have any classes that I would really recommend in but I'll show you what I used to do here. See if I can 'cause I feel like I talk about it a lot, but I've never showed it before. All right. Okay, I need to share my screen actually. Minimize myself to this size. Okay, great. All right. So as you can see here, I looked up Udemy Excel classes. I should have looked up courses, but same thing. I click on here. This is my favorite platform because it's cheap. So this is what I used to do back. I didn't have any money, right? No money at all. I didn't want to pay for any courses, but you can see that there's always discounts here, right? If you want to pay for it, then it's a different story. But I'm assuming that you don't want to pay for this. So if you go to here, Excel students also learn pivot tables and that. So what I used to do is instead of going to a specific thing, I'd look for the highest rated course. So there's most popular, new, beginner favorites. So I go to most popular because that's the most. There's like 1,600 students in here of ratings, I guess. Microsoft Excel 2013, 2013. I'll go to new because I want the most recent Excel version, right? Complete the hands-on, advanced, what's in that. Best Excel. I try to get the newest simply because Excel, there's always new features added to Excel that you don't really want to miss. You have top courses. Let's start with some of these are specific like data analysis. You have pivot tables, Power Pivot Tables, Power Query, and Power BI. You can really be as specific as you want. You can even search for things up here. So I'm gonna pick one just for this for an example. I'm not saying this is the best one. I'm not recommending anything or what do you call it? Affiliating myself with anything, but wherever I pick, I guess. But let's say for example this one here, because it says for beginners. I'm not saying going wrong this one. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying some of the things I look for in Udemy is how many hours. It's what is it? 10 hours and 5 minutes. or whatever, 10 hours and 50 minutes. It's an article, oh, it's in that. So what I used to do is I would click the show more. And what Udemy does is it shows you, do they have that on here? Okay, so here some people have the basics, this and that. Let's go back actually, because some people will tell you the topics that they actually cover. Let's do this first one. Uh, I can go to, let's see if I can find it. Oh, over here. So if you go all the way down, let me go back to the other one actually, because I don't like this one. I'll go to what was it? I went to new. I clicked on this one. Go all the way down until you see course content, right? So this shows you what they actually cover in the course. They're not gonna show you the videos or the lessons. So let's say for example, I want to learn how to create. I'm gonna open on table and pivot table, and I look at the sub courses that are under here or sub videos or topics. Uh, let's say I want to learn what's it? Pivot table design. Right? I'm like, okay, this is what they're gonna cover when it comes to pivot tables. They're gonna cover the design because I already know that's an important part of knowing how to use pivot tables, how to design them. So I can copy this. I can go to YouTube, and I'll just go here. I'll say pivot table design tutorial. Right? There's millions of tutorials. I like Kevin's tutorials. This I would actually recommend because he's really good at what he does. Right? So I'd watch these videos. I don't have to pay for the course. I just look at the topics they cover and I go learn them over here. So I can go back and take the course if I want to pay for it and it's gonna be so much easier for me because I've already learned what they cover. So you can go on YouTube and actually learn these things for free, right? So you can, let's say you learn about pivot tables. The cool thing is you can watch multiple videos from multiple people that teach in different ways. You can watch. There's so many videos on this. Let's say I want to learn conditional formatting, and I go under this. I say, what is let's see here, conditional formatting formulas. I can copy this and go to my YouTube. I mean, you could literally say or type the same thing. You have conditional form. You have so many videos on that, like this one. Excel, same topic here. Excel condition formatting and formulas, same topic, but for free. You know, you don't have to pay for that. So that's how I used to learn Excel when I was in college, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to pay for courses and things like that. That's how I used to learn. So you go to a course. I like Udemy because it shows you the content that's covered, and you can literally copy that and put that on Google, on YouTube, and that's gonna help you. Okay, what else do we have here? You guys have anything else? Thank you for the response. I really appreciate it. I'm definitely subscribing and I got a scholarship. That's good. As long as you got a scholarship, then do that double major if you have a scholarship. But for the most part, if it's gonna take you more than 5 years to finish a double major, it's not worth it, honestly. Even if it's paid for, I wouldn't really stick around in college for like 6 7 years. I wouldn't do that because you want to start your life as soon as possible, because once you get into the real life after college, right, that's real life after college, you're going to be judged based on the experience in real life, not your college experience, not how many degrees you have. Once you start working after college, your degree does not matter. Your GPA does not matter. What's gonna matter is, do you have it? It's like, oh yeah, I have it. Can you prove it? Oh yes, I have. I can prove it. Great. How many years of experience do you have? What have you done since after college? So what you did in college doesn't matter. So once you graduate after college, 2 degrees, 1 degree doesn't really matter. You just gotta be able to prove that you have it because it's like a status symbol, I guess. If you're having a college degree. All right, so what else do we have here? Let's go to one of the comments. We'll do a few more and then Okay, so does a finance major student need to know how to code or program? So I don't say you need to know how to do that, but definitely helps to know how to program in Python, maybe R programming. That's gonna help you as well. It depends on what you're trying to get into. If you want to be a corporate, if you want to work in corporate finance, and where you just you work with Excel for the most part, doing budgeting, forecasting, and things like that, you don't need to know how to program at all. But if you want to get into these new areas in finance like fintech, then yes, you need to know how to program. If you want to get into blockchain technology, that's where they're actually paying more money, right? When it comes to finance, you can go into like any company that's a startup blockchain. They'll pay you, a base salary of like $130,000 base as an entry level, just because you know how to do certain things. So definitely, if you want to get into that super technical finance where you have the finance knowledge as well as as well as uh the technical knowledge to program and do certain things, maybe understand blockchain technology, how you can create a cryptocurrency, NFTs, and things like that, then yes, you need to know how to do that. But you're like traditional finance, you don't need to know how to program. You just gotta know how to use Excel, and for the most part, you might want to know how to use what do they call it? SQL, 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 which you can use essentially getting data from a database like a Salesforce database and or an Oracle database and translating that data into like maybe tables and things like that. That's SQL. It allows you to like get data from a database and translate it into how you want it to look. Pretty much the same thing as Excel, but it kind of like reaches out to the database. You can also combine SQL with like Excel. It's like SQL is like a really important. It's a good language to learn to be knowledgeable of. I don't say it's important, but if you go into traditional finance, SQL will not be hard to learn, right? But if you're gonna go into this new finance, like the fintech area, yes, learn how to do Python, how to do R programming, how to do. I'll say Python is the biggest really when it comes to programming and finance, and be able to like use Power BI, things like that. These tools that we've built in this new finance world. Um, So what would you say? What would you say is an absolutely? What would you say is absolutely required on your resume as a for a financial analyst? All right. So for starters, I would say college degree. Obviously, your education is really important as a financial analyst because they're always going to judge you based on that, right? And the second thing is like your skills. Skills are important more than if you're coming out of college. Yes, experience is important, but it's all about the skills that you have, right? You might say you know how to use Excel, right? You know how to use these different tools. You know how to use QuickBooks. You know how to use this, but at the same time, can you back it up, right? So that's why I always say you need those entry level jobs or those internships, right? Entry level job. I mean, not part time jobs in finance related, or internships if you can get internships. Those are gonna be the things that vouch for your skills in what you claim, right? So it's all about the skills that you have. Because if you talk to a lot of recruiters or people that are hiring you, you do the phone screening, they're gonna get to a point like, so do you know how to use like familiar pivot tables? I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, of course, of course. And some of them they're willing to leave it at that because you say that you know how to use it. Some of them are willing to quiz you on it when you go in the interview. They're like, tell me one time you had to rearrange data that looked like this. What's the best way to format this data? What's the best way to like rebuild this data structure, right? Sometimes you have companies that make you actually quiz you on how to use the tools that you claim you know how to use. So I'll say that as a financial analyst is knowing how to use Excel and being able to back it up. So you might have, I always recommend instead of you speaking it or being tested, I always recommend having it on the resume. You can do that through your part-time jobs or through your internships. Same thing. So your experience is really important. Being able to know how to use Microsoft Excel, and also Microsoft Excel is like for all finance jobs. You have to know that. That's like the standard. But if you know exactly what you want to get into, if you want to go into things like let's say if you work for a payment processor company, right? I just did a project on with a payment processor company for credit cards. It's a big bank. If you want to know how to do that, you might have to know how to use Credit Manager. You have to know how to use Salesforce. You have to know how to use. So if you know exactly what part of finance or pocket of finance you want to get into, I would definitely recommend learning the tools that they use. Because that is super easy to find out, right? If you want to go into work for banks, figure out what if you want to go into banks, but on the credit side or the side where money's being borrowed, money's coming out of the bank. Learn about the things they use. Learn about threat metrics, right? What they use to measure if a creditor is creditable or not, if they're gonna be able to pay back or not. Learn how to use that Dun and Bradstreet. That's a it's a subscription, obviously, that they use to measure if a business is credit worthy or not. Learn how to use LexisNexis. They use that to do background checks on people, right? They learn that which are internet gathered. Learn how to use the things that the industry getting into, but the core skill is Excel, right? Because that's where you analyze the data. That's where you break down the data. That's where you make the data make sense. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be the skills. Next one is how broad is finance? What are the least known jobs in finance and still pay well? I think I covered this yesterday. Finance is really broad. It's so many things that you can do. Let me see if I can find. I think I showed this on a video one time. Let me see. Actually, can I look up one of my videos? Let me see if I can show you guys this. Can you search on here? No. Maybe not. I have a lot of videos on that. Yeah, go watch one of those. But let me see if I can find. I saw like a diagram one time. Oh, there you go. Let me share my screen here so you guys can see this. So this is from the CFI Institute. Definitely recommend this if you're trying to get a certification. This is one of the good platforms that you can get. It's recognized everywhere, almost everywhere. All right. So this year is where you can go in finance, right? Keep in mind the big four categories are banks, that's when you go into banking, institutions, corporates, public accounting. So I have worked in public accounting, corporates, and banks. Not institutions, maybe not institutions, but these are the big four kind of like categories that you go into, and they break out. This is not even like this is just the like a minimum version of where you can go in finance. Now, let's start with banks. You go into investment banking, right, which is where everyone wants to go. Everyone wants to go into investment banking. You can go into research. Research is like when you get your PhD and you go into like just research. You're just researching different, whatever you want to specialize in. You also have what's your trading, right? You go into Wall Street. Now you're trading. You're on a trading desk or things like that. You can go into sales. You can go into I don't know why he does that. Commercial banking. Commercial banking is actually really good because you get into commercial banking without a college degree. Right? Commercial bank is like you work for your local bank, maybe as a bank teller, something like that. So that's just banking. These are and even underneath these categories like investment banking, right? You have the buy side, the sell side. It even branches out a lot more. It branches out to like 1,000 things after that, right? This is just the basic circle of finance. In research, it branches out into all the topics in finance that you can possibly research, right? We want to be researching cryptocurrency, blockchain, like a bunch of things, trading, so many things, sales, so many things. So this is just a basic. You go into public accounting, right? You have consulting. This is where I'm at right now. I'm in consulting, but for finance. You have due diligence. I've done this in the past. Due diligence is part of, some of the things that you have to do in the consulting. Transaction advisory, valuations, and these things go into, like, say, let's say we're going to due diligence, right? You might be doing it for a bank, right? Should a bank take this person as a client? You do your due diligence on the client. uh Maybe it's a company that's trying to do business with somebody else. You do the due diligence on that. So it's not just one thing. This branches out into 1,000 other things. uh let's go to institutions. You have private equity. A lot of people want to go into private equity. So many branches that this goes into. Portfolio management, right? You go into that. You go into, like, family portfolio, public. You work for BlackRock, all these companies. You also have research that is based on institutions, right? Instead of just there was research in banks, right? When you go into, like, banking research and things like that. You also have research based on, like, institutions. You also have corporate finance, right? This is where you get, like, this is the traditional finance. You have your financial planning and I forget what the A is for. Financial planning and I forget what the A is for, and I forget what the A is for. But this is the most basic. This is pretty much like a financial analyst. This is the gonna be the financial analyst position here. Financial planning and let me see what that means. Okay, financial planning and analysis. Okay, that was easy. Okay, financial planning and analysis. This is where the financial analysts are at. Work for a corporate company and you focus on financial planning analysis. The department might be different, but it's gonna be financial planning or maybe analysis of you analyzing financial documents, or you're doing financial planning for the next year, next month, future, things like that. You also have business intelligence. This is the traditional finance here. Business intelligence. You have treasury if you want to go work for the government, right? You go into treasury, or maybe I've been around people that work in treasury for a private company, right? Things like that. You also have investor relations. You also, these are more like most of your social people for the most part. You have the people that crunch the numbers and people that actually talk to the investors, that break down the numbers to the investors. You also have a corporate development. This you have to be social because you're going in and really talking to, like, maybe you're talking to HR how they should do things differently, or maybe you're talking to just individuals, right? That's what you have. So this is a really good breakdown, but I just want you to realize that these things break out into 1,000 more different things that you can get into. I'm gonna put this in the chat, I guess. Live streaming over here. There you go. If you want to save that. Okay, great. All right. So yeah, so this is a really good diagram to get. And also this website as well. This is a great, I don't have a problem saying that this is a good website to get certifications from, because what they do is, like, let's say you want to get into financial planning and analysis, they have a certification for it that you can get. So if you don't have a college degree, master's or bachelor's degree, you get a certification from them. This is usually recognized amongst a lot of finance companies. They'll help you with that. I've never taken any course from them, but I know a lot of my friends have taken courses from them, and they've had really good jobs and what do you call it, and promotions and things like that. But yeah, so you can check out this website. I think it's a really good website. Never used it personally, but I've had a lot of friends that have used it, gotten promotions. It has certificates that you can use. But yeah, so those are how broad finance is. It is a lot, and this didn't even cover the insurance part, because my first year out of college, I worked in insurance as where the numbers would crunch the finance part of insurance. They didn't even cover that. That's how broad it is, right? There's so many jobs that are. If you watch my last live stream from yesterday, I'll probably clip that into like a shorter video that's more specific. But it's so broad that you can never go wrong with finance. There's no way. As long as you know how to deal with finance, you always have a job. Let's see here. How much can I expect to make in my first year as a financial analyst? 60K at least. That's a really good question. So that's gonna depend on where you live, right? If you live in New York, then 80K might be the same as 50K in Texas, right? San Antonio, where I stay. So as an entry level financial analyst, really, I'll be honest with you, you can negotiate. Obviously, you're gonna be able to negotiate, and the best way to negotiate is to look at websites like Glassdoor.com. Look for your position that you're applying for and the city that you're applying in, and look for the average. Right? You look for the average, and you can negotiate based on that. But for the most part, I'll be honest with you, you're not gonna have leverage to negotiate if it's your first job. You're never gonna have leverage to do that unless you already have a bunch of other offers that you can tell them that you're also interviewing with this and that. You don't have leverage at all, right? But the best you could do is they're always gonna ask you. So what is your expectation on salary? They usually ask you. They're going to 90%. I'll say 99.9% of the time they're gonna ask you. I would tell them the average, right? Just don't say the number. You can say, I was doing research and I saw that the average of an entry level financial analyst in San Antonio, whatever city you live in, is this much. So I was aiming for that, and see what they say. They might most of the time they'll try to uh most of the time they'll be like, when you present yourself like that, where you say, I've done my research and it looks like the average is this, they'll be like, okay, we can work with that. But when you say that, well, I want, let's say the average is 60K, and you'll be like, oh, I want 60K, they'll be like, well, our budget, like, yeah, our budget doesn't. They'll try to like really push you away from that amount, right? Because you don't have anything backing that up. But when you present that amount with, oh, I've been researching, and I've seen that the entry level salary for this position is 60K in this city, and that's what I was aiming for. There's no way that nine times out of ten they have the money. They can pay you more than they could probably pay you 10% more than the average that they pay for, right? So when you present yourself like that, so that's what I'm always gonna say. I'm not gonna be able to give you like a what to aim for, but I can always say look up the average salary, and I always say use Glassdoor.com, because that website is actual people putting in their salaries in there, right? That because I've done that before when I left like some of my jobs. I've done that to help other people because I've used it to help myself to know how to negotiate. So when I started, I don't even know if I can even say it. I was around 70 and 90K, simply because I had a lot of experience, because I did internships every year when I was in college, as well as I had a bunch of certifications in Excel, a bunch of things. So I was between, like, I was above average, so I was able to negotiate that high, and also had other offers that were willing to pay more. So I went with like the company that I actually liked, and they're willing to pay me a good amount of money that I could be able to live on. But but yeah, so I would say look up the average and negotiate based on the average if it's your first job ever. But if it's your second, then that's a different story. You can definitely double that, and we can talk about that later, maybe in a different video in the future. Um, Also, have you ever negotiated your salary? If so, would you say it's best? What's the best way to approach it? Yes, I have actually two times already. So the first time I ever negotiated my salary was um I got another offer. So one of the things that's gonna happen to you if you work as a if you work in finance, financial analyst, you're on LinkedIn, you keep your profile updated, you're always gonna have recruiters reach out to you. You're always gonna have that. Always. That's one thing you gotta get used to, right? You're always gonna have that. Whether you choose to ignore it or partake in it, talk to them, negotiate things like that, that's up to you. But you're always gonna have people reach out to you if you're a financial analyst, especially if you are accomplished, if you have certificate, if you have your LinkedIn updated. Your LinkedIn is up to date with your skills, you have all your things listed. It is always You're always gonna have people reach out to you, especially if you work in finance. So When you have that, what happens is like they're approaching you, so you kind of like have the upper hand. So I've had that multiple times when I left. I've only left one job really after college, but how I've negotiated is sometimes. Hopefully, no one is watching for my old job. I had an offer from a different company that really wanted me to join their company, and they asked, you know, they're gonna call you, they're gonna ask you this and that, why why you might want to leave. They want to gauge if you're gonna leave. How fast can they get you into their own company, right? They want to gauge that, and you always gotta be honest. Sometimes it's so easy to be intimidated with the money question, right? You have to be straight up. You just have to be straight up with them. What I said was, I'm willing to live if the compensation is more than what I'm getting paid here, because it's pretty much the same job, right? And they ask, "Oh, how much." They're never gonna ask you how much are you getting paid. They're gonna ask how much are you expecting. So how I have always approached it is I tell them how much I'm getting paid, and what I do is I add 20% on top of how much I'm getting paid. So if I was getting paid, for example, this is not how much I was getting paid. I was getting paid $80,000. I would say I'm getting paid 95 or $97,000. You'll be surprised. Most of the time they're gonna say, "Can we match that?" They'll say that, and I just got that recently. It's not the exact amount, but I'm looking to leave consulting, going to financial, being a financial analyst, and I told them an amount. They say, "Can we match that?" And I said I would prefer more. It's like we can work with that. We're gonna go and negotiate with my manager, things like that. They always have the money. They always have the money. So it's your job to negotiate a little more. And you don't want to negotiate from a point of you're at a disadvantage. You're saying, "Oh, I'm getting paid 50K right now. Can you pay me a little more?" They're gonna say 53 or 55. Imagine if you said I'm getting paid 60K right now. They said, "We'll pay you 65, 67." You've already like more than doubled. So you don't have to really be like decent or be like honest. It's like that's negotiation, right? They have the money. They're trying to pay you as minimum the minimum they can. That's what they're trying to pay you. They're trying to make their expenses a lot less than they can be, right? And your job is to make the expenses higher, right? So my recommendation is if you're negotiating, switching jobs and things like that, whatever you're getting paid, bump it up by 10, 20% and tell them that's how much you're getting paid. And you're going to be surprised. They're going to be like, they're going to double that or like add another 5%, 3%, 6% to that. They're going to do that. So that's the best way to negotiate switching jobs. Don't ever tell them exactly how much you're getting paid. Okay, next one is do you love the field you're working in and is it stressful? So right now I'm working in the past I was a financial analyst, in consulting, finance, risk management. If you're asking about that, the consulting risk management, is it fun, stressful work like that? It's it's fun because you get to work on different projects. Is it stressful? Yes, like different projects can be stressful. Sometimes you have clients that are demanding more of your time, more of your strength. Sometimes you have clients that let you do how you want to do the work as long as it's done. So it could be a little bit of both. Uh, I like it. I like consulting, but I just think I enjoy financial analysis more. That's more like numbers focused, where I don't really have to deal with like clients, where I'm only dealing with like numbers. I'm more of like an introvert, so that's probably why I want to go back into financial analysis instead of like consulting, where I have to deal with clients. Um, but yeah, that's I like consulting. It's been a good experience, but now I'm looking to exit that, to get into back into financial analysis, being a financial analyst again, because that's more of like a something that I actually enjoy doing. Something that's more of like an introvert type of activity that I would do. So the next one is let's see, one of the last one. What is the work life balance like? So work life balance really, I'll tell you in consulting. Consulting is more like if you have a project, then you have, sometimes it's like, if you, okay, that's why I'm saying that I don't really like consult, no, don't really like, but it's not something that I really enjoy, simply because you're working with clients. If you have clients, then you got to do everything you can to make the client feel like they're paying, what they have to pay for. They're paying for something that's worth it, right? So if a client messages you, let's say you finish at 6 p.m. at night, 7 p.m. at night, client messages you at, or your manager at 9 p.m. They're like, "This is wrong. I need this fixed before the morning." And what your manager's gonna do? Please fix this. Thanks. Right? You gotta go back to work. That's consulting for you. So I want to go into financial financial analyst analysis for a single company that doesn't deal with clients, simply because that's a lot less stressful. So yes, in terms of like, okay, going back to the previous question before this, yes, it is a little stressful when you're in those situations, when you're in projects where, a client is asking you to, do things at midnight or 1 a.m. in the morning. Maybe the client might be in a different country, right? It might be middle of the day for them, but then they don't care because they're paying you for a service and you have to provide the service, right? So that's when it can be really stressful. But that's why I want to go back to being a financial analyst for a company that's in my city, right? That's what I'm trying to do right now. Switch to that. To be a financial analyst for a big company, or like a huge corporation that, is going to offer me that position where I'm able to just focus on that. I don't have a client calling me, client that's in the Middle East or Africa or uh Europe is calling me when I'm at 3 a.m. in the morning just because it's day over there. So yeah, so it can be really stressful, working as a consultant. Really stressful because you don't really have, set times. You get to build the client, and you get paid bonuses, bonuses, and the money is good as a consultant. But at the same time, it's like, do you really want to deal with this, right? For the most part, you really don't. Honestly, over time, it's good for like a year or two or so, but you can't do that long term because you're gonna be like, no, nah, I don't want to wake up at 3 a.m. every morning with a please fix this or please add this or something like that, and you got to do that for the next like 2 hours, and then you got to be up for meetings in the morning. Um, the next one is, can you negotiate if you get a job through an agency like Ashton Carter? I actually saw that. Honestly, you're not gonna be able to really negotiate when it comes to them. It's gonna be up to them, because I've done that in the past where I've gotten a job through an agency, right? Usually what they'll do is, let's say, JP Morgan, the bank, they have a job posting, right? Usually what the banks do is like, or any company or any corporation, they will post the job on LinkedIn or whatever platform they post it on, but nobody applies. Or some people will apply, but you know it's because the HR departments on these companies, they're just so horrible at looking at all applications or following up with applications. They're just so horrible at it. So sometimes they can't keep up with it. So they tend to go to these job agencies, or these agencies are gonna be able to be more credible, because if the agency comes to like the HR, like, hey, we have this candidate, we've already vetted them, they're more qualified, this and that, this is their credentials, this is what they have, this is, HR is gonna just take you. So when it comes to negotiating with those, is it's gonna be up to the agency itself, right? Because usually when you talk to them, they're gonna ask you, how much do you want to get paid? How much are you expecting to get paid? And then you can tell them your range or how much you're expecting, and they'll tell you, well, the job said, they're usually honest about it, like, well, the job posting said, this is they could say something like, they said this is the amount, actually, that's what the job said. And then you could be like, well, this is how much I want to get paid, right? They said, well, we'll see what we can do. So it's their job to negotiate on your behalf, since they're applying for the job for you, technically. So so that's what I would say. So if you're going through those agencies, I would really stress out. They're gonna tell you what the range is, and just make sure to tell them, negotiate a little more if what the number they tell you is not high enough, right? I would just ask them like, hey, I'd appreciate if it was, one time I had an offer. I never took it really, um, but I had an offer that was I think I was gonna get paid 5% more than I was asking for 5% more than I was getting paid in my job was through an agency, like an agent. And then when they finished the negotiation, he got me 15% instead of the 5% I was asking for, right? That's why he was able to negotiate. So it's gonna be how much you connect with the agent that's speaking on your behalf and how much they're willing to fight for you, right? Because at the end of the day, they get paid based on how much you're getting paid. Like that's their cut, I guess. If they get an employee that's earning $100,000 a year, they get a bigger cut than someone who's getting paid $50,000 a year. But yeah, so that is gonna be pretty much it. If you guys don't have any additional questions or last minute questions, uh, today was pretty long actually. How long was this? It was a good amount or pretty long time. If nobody has any other question, this is probably gonna end pretty soon. And we're gonna do the same thing tomorrow again, same time. I might be today I was a little late by like maybe 10, 15 minutes. But yeah, tomorrow you do the same thing again. I'm on in consulting, you have this thing called bench. So in between projects, you get to be on the bench, right? The bench is waiting for your next project so you can get certifications. You can get so if I didn't like what I was doing, I could get certifications in like technology, things like that, blockchain. Then I could switch to that, maybe get on projects that are related to that. So right now I'm on the bench, and I'm doing like some certifications. I'm learning about blockchain technology. Uh, you know, hopefully trying to switch over to back to financial, being a financial analyst, analysis, things like that. So I'm gonna do one of these every day until I'm on the project around this time. But yeah, so we're gonna do the same thing tomorrow at the same time. If you guys have any additional questions, and maybe more specific, if you want me to show you how to do something, I'll be more than happy and willing to do that. If that's something, if you guys want to see something that I'm able to show you here. But I hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.